Peace and blessings, everybody. All the peace and all the blessings. So welcome, everyone. It is so good to see you all here, that you braved the chill or the threat of chill. The people of the sun cannot be stopped. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's wonderful to be gathered here in Sankofa as we look around and see all the books and the films and the creative arts. It's just testimony to the fact that our cultural history is so rich, so expansive, that studying them can take a lifetime. So what we're here today to do is to study up on our ritual culture, the things we have done and our ancestors have done that have sustained us, kept us whole, and kept us thriving. Be it the prayers of our grandmothers and what our elders taught us, inspired communication from the unseen, and the new rituals that our contemporary life demands, we know that it is ritual and faith that have sustained us and gotten us through. Amen? Amen. It is important for us to remember, to ensure those traditions are not forgotten. And that is our purpose today, to raise up our ritual traditions of protection, of inspiration, of prosperity and fruitfulness, of forgiveness, healing and health, longevity and clarity, to share them, celebrate them, and keep them going. We're also here to express gratitude to the Garimas, Sahili, to Sharik and Salome, for this safe space they created just for us. And gratitude for the folks that keep this community resource going. Thank you to Jonathan, to Christina, to Michaela for the support you've provided to us for this event. We are here to celebrate. We are here to celebrate the launch of this volume, Women of Spirit Share Rituals Divine. Those of us who are included in this book always have an attitude of gratitude for our fearless leader, to Iya Larisha Ololade Oniosun Amshatira Monroe, for obediently following the message and inspiration she got from Spirit, for having the vision and the courage to recruit 40 very diverse women from all parts of the community and culture to share their stories of their ritual lives and spirit-affirming practices. Amshatir also midwifed the organization Sacred Space Where Indigenous Paths Meet, which is how we met, and also another organization called Women of Spirit. She is a consummate visionary and networker for good. Amshatir is currently with her family living in North Carolina. She could not join us tonight, but she is always with us in spirit. She's always in our hearts. Thank you, dear sister, for birthing this project and inviting us to join you in its fruition. As we continue to acknowledge and give thanks to our sources of inspiration, seen and unseen, I'm honored to turn to my prayer sister partner, Dr. Michelle Chapman, to pour libation. I gotta say a little bit about this sister. She told me not to, but hey, I got her mic. 25 years ago, this sister was doing research for her PhD on mindfulness in education. Nobody knew what that was. She kept talking about mindfulness, and we were like, yeah, okay. Today, Dr. Chapman is the founder of the Black Mindfulness Summit. She launched and is the director of the Mindfulness and Contemplative Action Lab at UDC. Say what? And she has been named one of the 10 most powerful women in the mindfulness movement. What can I say? Big up, Ilarisha Olufina.
Greetings, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Greetings, what's up? Well, as many of us know, the pouring of libation is an indigenous practice. It's an ancient practice. It is one that connects us to the earth, to our ancestors, to unseen spirits and guides, including future generations. So it is a very deep and powerful practice. So I will be pouring libation this evening to open up our program. And there will be a point in the libation where I will ask you to call out the names of your ancestors and your family and the community. And if you're not comfortable calling them out, then just hold them in your heart, right? Whisper those names to yourself. Because were it not for those people who came before you, you wouldn't be here. And I'm glad to see all of you here. And I'm glad that all of you are joining us this evening, all right? So we're gonna pour this libation, and I just want to thank my sister, my elder sister, mamas. This get real confusing because like they're my elders, but my sister friends, you know, it's like, and I love them. I love them. Camera's that way. I should stay this way. Omi tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roye, tutu e shubabao for opening every good book. Mojubaha Lodumare, the creator of each and every little thing. The past, the present, the future, the now. Mojuba Babaye, Mojuba, for being the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, and each and every thing in between. Mojuba, all of those holy and sacred divinities, those energies from the east, the west, the north, the south, and unto the bounding center where we stand. Mojuba, all of the ancestors and Egun, Ibae, all of our ancestors. Please call out your ancestors at this time. Just call out their names. All of my member ancestors, Barbara Alice Holmes Coghill, Jordan, Melvin Coghill, Abdullah Coghill, all of those ancestors, named and unnamed, known and unknown. All of those ancestors, whose names we do not know, whose names we do not call, it does not matter because they know us. And we give thanks for our ancestors. We acknowledge the ancestors of this volume whose work is included in this book. Dr. Angelus Arian, Dr. Barbara Daniel Cox, Nani Yadensuau, Ia Nifa Efunyale Ifa Rinola, Mother Taylor, Barbara Somonfu Some, Sri Nata Devi Premananda Mataji, Reverend Dr. Barbara King, Gail Needleman, and all other women, spiritualists, ritualists, mothers, daughters, sisters. We hail you, we greet you, we acknowledge you, we thank you at this time. We acknowledge all of the divinities, all the Loa, all the Neteru, all the Orisha, all the saints, all the spirits, all the guides, all the Insamafo, all the Sheps, all of the support that we have. We say, let this evening flow with divine, perfect peace and order and upliftment and light. Let there be heartfelt exchanges one to another. Let there be learning and leading and enlightenment. Let there be deep sharing. Let there be movement. Let what we do tonight transform us on a cellular level, Jay. Let it not be for form or for fashion, as Mother Taylor would say. What come ye out to see? This is not a show. This is not a performance. This, in and of itself, is a ritual. Let us honor what we have come to do. Let there be light, let there be peace, let there be love, let there be iwa pele, let there be goodness and array of every form. Ashe, 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 Ashe. Mm. Y'all tuning in virtually? Mm. Bring it up, bring it up. Mm. Mm. All right, y'all did good. Y'all can stay. I have the pleasure of introducing my elder mama sister friend, Mama Baina Abedi, or Mama Bay as I call her, contributor to Women of Spirit Share Rituals Divine. She is an activist, a show enough nurturer, sister friend, daughter lover, and mother, and great grandmother of 9. She's a seasoned management consultant with more than 20 years of experience in production, promotion, and events planning. She grew up in New York, but she's home. She's claimed the DMV, and we have claimed her. And I'm just so blessed to have her in my life. I'm blessed to have had her as my supervisor at one time, but my long time mama sister friend.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We just welcome you all, and we love you all. I'm so grateful that you're here with us to join us in this celebration of this production of this book. I want to preface with many of us have multiple names, multiple identities, and we will overlap and say different names for our editor and our organizer because we do that. And so if you hear me say different names, I'm talking about the same person. And I just wanted to share that with you. So of the 40 women contributors to this publication, 4 of them are here with us today. And I want to mention Sister Ivy Shadia Hilton. And as you know, Olafina, Dr. Coghill Chapman, and Olafunde, yes, Olafunde Sandy Ratley, and myself. We're the 4 that are here today. 10th representing. And the last names that Dr. Chapman just iterated in the libation were ancestors, our ancestors, contributors. They're all writers of the book. They all contributed essays, and they're all communicating with us from the other side. So I just wanted to let you know that. I am all that I am. And I'd like to acknowledge again Oma Ololode and Shatir Monroe. I met Alola D in the late 1980s, and she and I did several artistic and educational activities throughout the city for many years. And at one point, she started Sacred Space where indigenous paths meet, and she asked me to join in with the group. I was extremely elated, and eventually, as years went on, it morphed into Women of Spirit, is where we are now. We just cast a large net in the metropolitan area and even outside of this area to share our experiences with ritual and with spirituality. And we work with elders, we work with the youth, and we exchange with our peers as well. This book project is a collection of essays from these 40 women who are dear friends and colleagues of M. Shatir. The work represents their personal ritual stories, experiences, perspectives, and diverse backgrounds that they come from. They come from 5 different continents, all 4 directions of the globe. And they embrace a wide array of spirituality and religious practices, including Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Sufism, Hinduism, Buddhism, African, Yoruba, Akan, Native American, and other transitional indigenous earth, and nature-based practices. The offerings in this book are presented in 5 sections, and they mirror the 5 stages of manifestation. Many of the contributors are celebrated authors, well-renowned. Several of them are scholars, recording artists, sound healers, visionaries. Others are community and global leaders, spiritual activists, traditional healers, ministers, and spiritual teachers. They are all women who value the profound differences that ritual make in their life and in their work of service to the world. This book can prove to provide you with tools that can help you navigate during these seriously uncertain times that we're going through. We all need some centering and some peace and some hope with all the madness that's going on. The book can also help to keep you on a high frequency, a high level vibration, and it can give you some fresh and gentle encouragement to a closer relationship with the divine. The unseen intelligence is what we're talking about. And we just want you to go inside as we experience these conversations today and realize that we all have these capabilities to reach the spirituality level of our lives, which is mainly inside. Ritual can be as simple or complex. It can be a custom, a habit, a ceremony, or a practice of sacrament done by an individual or a group. Taking a walk in the park, Sunday dinner, girls' night out, meditation, prayer, any thoughtful connection with the divine is a form of ritual. If you do it more than once, it's some type of ritual if you're connecting with the divine. I would like to encourage all of you to purchase this book. You need this book. And all your relations need this book. So just to let you know, it is available here today at Sankofa at a discounted price of $20. The book also is available on Amazon. It'll be available on Lulu and soon on Barnes and Nobles. So I'd like to just read an excerpt from my contribution in the book. It's in section 1. As I indicated, we have 5 sections in the book. And the first section is titled In the Stillness. My particular essay is entitled Preparing for Sacred Times, Rituals for Greeting the Divine. And I wrote a particular poem, and the title of the poem is Water Cleansing Prayer Poem. And I'd like to share that with you now. In an Islamic tradition, a special prayer is recited in the cleansing prior to praying. However, I suggest that you use this water cleansing prayer poem at any point in time that you like, or another prayer of your own choice. Several years ago, I was invited by our dear sister friend, Omo Ololade, to join with a group of light workers, and they were having a communion representing various spiritual paths for a Native American prayer vigil in Washington, D.C. We met on the grounds of the Washington Monument to offer a prayer for Mother Earth. As I began to ponder my prayer offering, I was inspired by the abundance of water on the planet, and I wanted to give thanks and praise for it, and I began to write my thoughts down in the form of a prayer and a poem. And again, the title of the poem is Water Cleansing Prayer Poem. I offer, I adore, I give thanks and praises. My prayer is but one note in the great chorus of prayers being offered each day, as we evoke the blessings of the Spirit water. As pure water from the divine is a sacred symbol of purification of our faith, we humbly Gratefully love the rain, the rivers, and the fountains that provide us with water, the primary element for all living things, which existed before heaven and earth. Most High Spirit, we ask that you continue to provide us with this pure, essential element and teach us how to preserve it better. Accept this offering of our gratitude for this blessed, life giving, sustaining, and purifying resource. As we evoke the quickening of the blessed water, we ask that you accept this use of water cleansing as a symbol of our hope for world peace and the end to starvation among the people of the world. I share this poem and prayer and the cleansing ritual because they have proved profoundly settling for me. When I cleanse myself prior to performing any ritual or prayer, I am easily transported to a place of calm and receptivity that aids in the strengthening of my connection with my spiritual essence. Though this is a traditional Islamic practice, it is a ritual that can be beneficial for anyone or any use. Choose what works best for you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mama Bay. That was beautiful. So, I'm a professor at the University of the District of Columbia, Firebird Nation, which is also my alma mater. And I find that in almost every one of my classes every semester, somebody just doesn't follow the instructions for their homework or their assignment. And in this instance, it's me. No shade. I did not follow my instructions. Did not follow the instructions. I'm supposed to read my chapter from this book, but I'm going to share with you what it's about. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that all right, y'all?
That's all right.
Okay, all right. So my chapter is about healing and prospering with the ancestors' blessings. And greetings, I have to say greetings to the loved ones in the audience, the familiar faces that I see. So grateful that you're here. I wrote that chapter when I was, I believe, carrying my daughter, who is now 14 and in the audience. I wrote that chapter, I guess, several years after my initiation into the Yoruba priesthood, which I really didn't know much about, honestly, when I went into it. My life was in a state, and I needed some help. And Mama Omo Alolodi, Iya Omo Alolodi, saved me. She pointed me in the direction that I should go. And I'll tell you, ever since then, whenever I travel, whenever I speak, whenever I go to a conference, there is always a child of Oshun looking out for me. But I digress. So the chapter is about ancestors, right? And what I want to share is that, I'm so excited to see young people come into the culture these days, right? And they want to claim Orisha and I'm Shango and Ogun. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But don't forget about your people. Don't forget about your Egun, your ancestors. It's the first step, right? It's the first step to claiming, understanding, living, embodying your spirituality. You got to go to the folks who gave you life. So in my chapter, I talk about this encounter I had, this early experience with setting up my ancestor altar. And, I'd read the books of Yana Van Zandt, Tapping the Power, but then, that was my jam, right? I was like, I need to do this, right? But it still felt a little perfunctory, right? Like going through the motions. And in the chapter, I talk about this really cathartic experience I had setting up this altar. I heard my people say to me, "You forgot about us?" Absolutely not. And all I could say in that moment of prayer and crying and connecting and singing and all I could say was, "You have not been forgotten. We have not. I grew up in the Christian church. It is a part of my spiritual lineage. But they really didn't teach me anything about honoring my people. And that's not right. I'm sorry. That's not fair. So I appreciate the opportunity and the blessing to commune with my ancestors. 4.5 years ago, my mother but baby, when I sing, I hear my mama. When I correct my nephews, I hear my mama. When I look at my baby girl, I see my mama. And she shows up in dreams all the time. It doesn't matter if there were relationships of difficulty. They're going to be difficult. Our presence here in this country, in this world, in this hemisphere is difficult. Those are your people. Heal it. Clean it up. Bless it. So you can prosper in your life. Ibaid, all of my ego, all of my ancestors. We got a big, big, mighty, powerful road ahead of us. Buy the book, read the chapters, and set up your ancestor altar, okay? All right? Pay attention to those dreams and those whispers when they say don't date that person. Girl, don't you take that job, right? When you feel, I'm not sure if I should take this trip. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. Maybe somebody's trying to tell you something, right? So praises to all of my ancestors and all of our ancestors who brought us here together this evening. Ashley.
Well, since you established what the sermon was for this evening, I'm going to, continue on the ancestor vibe. I'm about to read a short excerpt from my essay that begins on page 215 in Women of Spirit, Share Rituals Divine. I'm in the section called Love in Action, and the title members who bore a striking resemblance to my elders in the States. And prophecy was fulfilled when Ghanaian family members indicated that not only was I the progeny of the former military protector and spiritual diviner of Komenda, whom, according to them, I physically resemble, but in addition, his wandering spirit had returned home with me. It should have been no surprise then, as I began my journey of spiritual development with involvement in the Yoruba faith system, my religious instructors indicated my spiritual foundation, as he has said, and the engine for developing my spiritual intuition lay with establishing a connection and regular communication with my ancestors. Thus, my earliest experiences of personal ritual practice began with attempts to understand and establish a connection with my ancestors. Regardless of your system of faith or the extent to which you have specific knowledge of your ancestral lineage, there are still clear benefits, spiritual clarity and protection that come from making and maintaining contact with your ancestors through ritual prayers and spiritual practices. Just contemplate and assume we all believe God is love and spirit is the manifestation of love. So isn't it likely that the energy you have exchanged and the relationships you have maintained with the people and family members you have loved and served and who have loved you passionately and unconditionally, who have done anything and everything to support and uplift you while they were here in this temporal plane, of course, those feelings are going to remain intact and active, regardless of whether it is the past, the present, or the future. So that's from my essay, but I just want to take a minute and update some of the details that aren't in that essay. So I've been lucky enough to find out that my primary ancestor's name is Egya Amokwando. Oral history in Ghana said he was intentionally profiled because he was a leader of the resistance to European colonization. After being captured, one of his brothers ran after him to try to free him, but they were both captured. One brother settled in PG County, Maryland, the other at Mount Vernon, Virginia, one of the over 300 slaves bought and inherited by the first family, George and Martha Washington. When Egya was captured and asked his name, he said, Amo Kwando. Since Amo means I am, only Kwando was entered into the ship's docket for his name. I'm blessed because my family never carried a slave name. My mother's maiden name is Kwando. I began my journey studying Yoruba religion in 1980, inspired by Zora Neale Hurston, who studied traditional African practices in Haiti and Jamaica. There's a documentary out on her life now on PBS. Check it out. I wanted to know about Africa's ethical ideas before our ancestors were forcibly missionized. I did not learn the details of my family history until 1985. My family in Cape Coast is Fanti, as the matrilinear society and language group. Members of Fantiland and the Fanti Federation are said to be descendants of the original Ghana Empire. Our history has been impacted by both Islam and Yoruba religion practiced in Oyo, although some Fanti oral history states that Fanti progenitors also originated, descending from the sky, coming out of the waters and forests. But the primary feast or first fruit harvest festival that's celebrated by the Fanti in Cape Coast has a Yoruba name, Fetu Afashe. So my situation is probably unusual, and I am extremely blessed in that my pursuit of religious and spiritual meaning got fact-checked by my ancestral lineage and family history. I sit here as a legacy project of my ancestors. I realize and I am humbled by how privileged I am to know the details of my genealogy and to have had the initiation as a priest of Obatala and member of the shrine of Orishanla in LA Ife to establish and regularize a personal practice to keep me in touch with my spiritual obligations and my heritage. So how does that play out in my daily life and practice? I feel like I have a channel in my conscious and subconscious where I receive regular and direct communication from my ancestors. Sometimes they appear to me. What I continue to describe in my essay is my first ever full ancestral visitation from my maternal grandmother. These visitations are not scary. They are not ghostly. They are not like movies, not like in the movies. They're just like the conversations I had with my grandmother when she was sitting at her kitchen table preparing food, or with my mother as she was sitting in her recliner watching Judge Judy. I feel them, I hear them with the same warmth and clarity as if they were still here in carnal form. They are still wise and funny. They are still themselves. I have a dear friend who's also an ancestor now, a Yoruba priest who made a presentation at a conference of ABPSI, the Association of Black Psychiatrists, saying it is important for our mental health to be grounded in traditions that are authentically ours, to maintain what is authentically ours and part of our spiritual heritage. This approach has been a critical tool for me to survive and thrive in contrast to colonialism and in resistance to racism, white supremacy. The recognition and veneration of ancestors is an important part of my spiritual practice that is keeping me grounded, focused, and sane amid all the challenges to that. There are an unlimited number of approaches for how this can be done, but at the end of my essay, in this great book, Women of Spirit Share Rituals Divine, I offer some thoughts about how anyone can establish ancestral communication, whether you know the names and histories of your ancestors or not. But please know and trust our ancestors are checking for us. You may hear their voices faintly, offering you little warnings and advice, but you can turn up the volume on that conversation. You can speak to them directly, calling on your ancestors of the highest spiritual evolution, known and unknown. You can ask for their protection and guidance. You can ask them to remain active and to continue to manifest their love for you. I invite you, for your own mental health, to begin that journey if you have not done so already. Thank you. Now, to keep it going, we want to welcome our friends and community leaders to broaden this conversation and expand our vision of ritual and spiritual practice and the possibilities of what it can accomplish, to talk about the spiritual tools and practices that they use to center peace, clarity, understanding, personal evolution, collective transformation, justice, and love in their lives. So I want you to please join me in welcoming Penny Gamble Williams, aka Chappaquiddick Woman, a tribal member of the Chappaquiddick tribe of the Wampanoag Nation of Massachusetts. She is currently the spiritual leader and president of the tribe's nonprofit corporation. She served as chief from 1995 till 2002. Her radio show, The Talking Feather, aired on WLAM XM satellite radio and blog talk from 2000 until 2013. She and her husband, Thunder Williams, created a traveling exhibit for the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian called Indivisible African Native American Lives in the Americas, to document the contributions of the Afro-Indigenous to our world. We're also blessed to have Paramount King Erwa Kehemedu Ra in comment with us today. He's been a member of the Asara Set Society International since 1975. Under Erwa's leadership, 2 schools and numerous businesses here in the DMV have been established: Sembed Cafe and Natural Foods, Suwali African Boutique, and the Oracle of Tahuti, providing classes and spiritual training in the Kemetic way of life. So let me just finish this part. So our brother received a PhD in African art and culture from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, Ghana, and he has written 2 books, and he's going to tell us about at least one of them today. Yes. So we're gonna invite both of you to talk for a few minutes and talk about your spiritual path, and then we're gonna invite folks in the audience to engage and extend this conversation.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much. It's good to be here and to be amongst beautiful people, relatives, friends. I would like to acknowledge that the land that we are on is the territory of the Piscataway, the Kanoi, and of course, the Nakash tank, who are spiritually here, and probably the blood is mixed with a lot of people, so they still live. And the Piscataway and the Kanoi carry the stories of this land, and they hold it in their hearts, and they are still here. They are the survivors. Well, a little bit about me. I'm a member of the Chappaquiddick tribe of the Wampanoag Nation, and I'm African, and I got some European blood, as a lot of us do. So I acknowledge all of that because that's that connection. No matter who they are, that's where we come from, right? I'm a spiritual leader, and it's really interesting how that happened. So it's like a long story, but I'll make a long story short. A lot of it happened because of my mother, obviously. Chappaquiddick, which is a part of the Wampanoag territory, and it's an island, Chipiaquidnet, also known as cut off land or separated land, because it's a part of Martha's Vineyard. How many of you have been to Martha's Vineyard? Yeah, so it's a very beautiful place, a very special place. And it's a place where the bones of my ancestors are buried. So my father, he came from Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, and African and Choctaw. So many moons ago, stop there. The spiritual journey that chose me was ancestor-led. So I've been down many roads, looked into many ways to connect to spirit, and my indigenous roots caught me. They caught me, they grabbed me, and mainly because of my mother. And of course the elders, and definitely the ancestors. So as a young woman having a moment of feeling lost, the ancestors took me, and they took hold of me. And after I cried, and after I called them, because when you call them, they come. When you call their names, they come. And when they come, you better have something for them. And I did, I had a lot. So moving through all of those different phases of my life, I knew the road that I had to travel. And through meditation and lots of prayers, they showed me the road. And I was lifted. And I heard them and they heard me. And they illuminated the path. Yeah, I'm not good at holding all this stuff. But basically, it's a path that I cherish. And it's not an easy path. Because when you start walking down a path, sometimes a lot of people don't understand. But I learned that it doesn't matter what people say or how they feel about your path. It is your path, and your path only. And that's between yourselves and the Great Spirit and the ancestors. And I really believe that a lot of things that we find ourselves moving towards that will help not only self but others is really important. It's a way of communicating totally with our ancestors who were not able to complete what they'd come here for. And many of us are given the opportunity through the ancestors tapping us on the shoulder and moving us to places that we never think we'd go to. So what I've learned along the way, love of the Great Spirit, connecting to Aki, which is what Wampanoags call Mother Earth, and understanding this vast universe, where we come from, ritual and ceremony, and all of those things that help ground us. So once we understand the power of it all, with sounds, notes, tones, feeling the earth beneath our feet, the water, the air, and all that we are related to, which are the animals, the plants, and everything that the Great Spirit created. That's what this life is all about. So as the former Sank or chief, I'm and I served for 7 years, I shared a lot of traditional ways that I learned, things that I learned from my mother, ritual and ceremony, and understanding the importance of it all. And to this day, we the Chappaquiddick, we have ceremonies where we connect with the earth and our families and the ancestors who lived and died and who are buried on that island. So it was unfortunate for many of our relatives who had to leave that island at the turn of the century. And of course, because of colonization, racism, and so many other things, because our people, many of them had intermarried with Africans, and that was something that a lot of people looked down on. That's why I stand strong in honoring all of who I am. With all of those things, one of the things that we, the Chappaquiddick people, are working on and doing, and that is land back. Being able to go back to that land, not just to have our ceremonies several times a year, but to be able to bring our children there, teach them, show them the way of the land, the waters, all the natural things about that land and what makes it so special. And to continue to honor our ancestors, even though they're with us no matter where we go. But when you go back to the place of the birth of the people who are within you, it's something very, very special. There's a poem that I would like to share with you, and it goes like this. It's called "The Cycle Continues Within the Circle of Life." Winter trees stripped of leaves with roots running deep expose their flaws and their beauty. Full moon thoughts jog the memory bank. Bright moments of the past flash before our eyes. The heartbeat of Aki, Mother Earth, keeps time as stories play like movies in the mind. Through ancestors' eyes, we imagine the harvest gathered in the fall. That enables us to taste the dried herring, the berries, and the sassafras tea. We hear the words and chants in our language. This is the time for our midwinter gathering, where we sit in a circle and by the open fire, which warms us and lights the pathways. Cedar and tobacco lay down, light the sweet grass, and with that, we send our prayers up to the Great Spirit, for spirits rising, all with the promise of a new day. And there's one other thing that I would like to share. There's an elder who I have a lot of respect for, and I learned a lot from him, and he still continues to do the work. He's an activist and a spiritual being who shares a lot. And this is what he said in a book that he wrote. The survival of all species depends on our grasping the significance of what was learned during the beginning times. And what we learned was this, that ceremony is life itself. It is the way we do things. It is the way we maintain balance and harmony with all our relations. It is the way we honor our ancestors and protect the earth for the yet unborn generations. And with that, I say Kataba Tashimo, which means thank you in the Wampanoag language.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? Can you hear me in the back? Am I clear? Incredible. I show my voice, it goes, comes and goes. So I have some people here to help me. My door's gonna open up. But, I had some slides I want to show you, but you didn't get that hooked up in time.
Shall I stand behind you? Oh, no. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Sharima Sumeri and Comet, and I'll be reading from Orwa Hamadu's book, Yes We Can, Sir. If I had to do it all over again, things I knew, didn't know, in hindsight would have liked to have known.
I'm sorry, I'm not in this other book. I'm not in Shatir's book yet. I'm not in there.
No.
Okay.
I'll be reading a poem that he wrote from chapter 3. My personal journey.
What's the book about?
Yes, we can, sir. If he had to do it again, what he would do. Things I knew, didn't know. In hindsight, would like to have known. Concerning his episode with cancer, prostate in particular. A Mother's Love by Hahimadu Ryan Comet. Read at the funeral of his mother, Alara Cook, in February of 2021. It is said by many, and demonstrated by most, of what a mother will do for her child, she will never boast. It was this past Tuesday, 4 days since you've been gone, and the TV keeps playing the verse of this song. You could not have known in the weeks that preceded discussions about the care that more help was needed. A plan was being formulated that both you and me would soon be moving to my home in DC. You should not have known in the weeks that preceded, with not only your health but mine, attention would be needed. You were never told the reason I was not here, that I was in DC receiving health care. But through spirit, did you know? Though physically not able, you gave what you could as I laid on the surgeon's table. It is said by many, and demonstrated by most, of what a mother will do for her child, she will never boast. It was this past Tuesday, 4 days since you've been gone. On the TV, Whitney keeps singing the verse of this song. It seemed it was a message through Whitney from you to me, explaining you had to go to set me free. If I should stay, I would only be in your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way. And I will always love you, will always love you. I'll always love you too, Mom. The poem above, he read at his second mom's funeral. As indicated in chapter 2, he had moved in with her prior to her 88th birthday, so she could remain in her home of more than 50 years. My father had died a few years earlier, and he'd made arrangements for a friend from his paternal homeland in Konya in Ghana, Nana Sarawa Ajimansu, Queen Mother of Tepo, to spend a few months with her. For a period of time, he felt comfortable monitoring her remotely using the security system he had previously installed.
Every time someone approached the front door, either from the front or rear, or when the front or rear door opened, and as she began moving through the house, he would get a notice on his phone and could look in through the cameras he'd installed strategically in the home to see what was going on. Initially, she could even turn the alarm on and off, but later, he had to do it remotely as well. She was active in her church, Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist, 4 days a week. Her niece, Laverne Smith, a friend of my father's, Marvin Kurtz, and members of her church family were very attentive to her needs. However, it soon became obvious after my friend returned to Ghana that my second mother could no longer live alone for safety reasons. My decision to leave DC and move in with her in Richmond, Indiana, was based on the fact that people suffering from mental decline find it difficult and often not possible because of short-term memory challenges to learn new routines as effectively. I saw this firsthand as a few weeks earlier I had brought her to my home in DC. I did not get a wink of sleep as I had to constantly monitor her movements as she could not remember where the bathroom was located. In her home at that point, she could not only move to and from the bathroom, but could make her coffee and navigate in the kitchen to get food from the fridge. She could even cook, although she had to be closely monitored, as she would often forget she had something on the stove. And you could probably guess what happened a couple of times. However, even with excellent in-home support provided by her aide for 3 hours a day, it became obvious that I could no longer, without more support, tend to her alone. With all of the above providing the backdrop, and with the encouragement of my wife, I went to a certified nurse practitioner in Maryland, in Richmond. And it was then that I received first indication that something was wrong with my prostate.
And they're watching us now live and doing all the, so we need to move forward.
Okay. The voice is clear. Sure. What I wanted to present was some information from this book here. Ryan gave Kingship or something. I'll just summarize it for you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There is a process that our ancestors in Ghana, amongst the Ghana people and the Guam people, used to do called Inyamitsu. Inyamitsu is a thing called Inyamidu, which is a tree. God's tree is called. And every day it rains. When it rains, it catches water. Every morning the person would go and put their finger in the water and then rub it forehead right here. While they visualize themselves being a woman with God. This process was done long before there was Christians and Muslims in Ghana. In fact, they kind of killed the process. That's not a discussion. But anyway, the point is this. Yamisu meant that each day a person went out, they'd be united with God. They saw themselves as united with God, as one with God. Now, why here? We don't know that a lot of traditions have this very sacred part of the brain. Ajna Center. In ancient Canaan, it's called the Kente. And the Kente, if you read the description of the Kente, it talks about how the Kente was the Holy of Holies. Let's see for us there. It's a place where everyone could unite with the God themselves. So, But what's the scientific basis for this? Right here is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is part of the brain. That's the baby part of the brain. That's designed to control the animal parts of the brain, the human parts of the brain. And every morning when they're doing this, they're united with God. They call him Yahweh. They were one with God. Every day. Live that way, live that life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, incredible. I don't understand what I'm saying. But the point is this, that we need to get back to our traditions. We're divine beings. And because we say we are, because God, we're made in the image and likeness of God. God's a divine beings, we're good divine beings too. But we have to tap in with divinity. It's a process our ancestors identified long ago to keep us in touch with our divinity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, at this time, we want to invite all of you in the audience. You can pose questions if you wish to any of us, but we also really want to invite you all to talk about the rituals that are sustaining in your lives. They may be personal rituals, they may be family rituals, they may be cultural rituals. So we just want you to take this time, as we have shared, the things that are helping to keep us sane and to keep us moving forward. We want to hear from you in terms of the things that are on your heart as well. And just to warm things up, I want to hand the mic to my brother in the front row. Many know him as Tony Browder, but we call him Karak. And because we've been talking about ancestors, and I think that his story in terms of ancestral connection is so dramatic and so important if you already don't know it. Brother Karak, can you just give us a little snapshot?
Which story?
The Karak story.
Okay. Greetings, family. Wow, so many stories. And I appreciate being put on the spot, my sister.
But you volunteered.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do remember. Yes, I do. So many stories. So, for those of you who know me, I have spent the last 14 and a half years excavating tombs in Egypt. And these are tombs of 3 25th dynasty priests of Amen, from Karnak Temple, Apet Asut, where the Holy of Holies of Amen is located. And I kind of fortuitously became involved in this project. And we named the project after Asa Hilliard, who had just passed in Egypt a year before. Okay, you want me to replace it? Okay, cool, thank you. So Asa just passed in Egypt August 13, 2007. July of 2008, I was presented with an opportunity to become involved in an archaeological excavation that had been started 2 years earlier. And I agreed to come in and do this work and raise funds so this work could continue. The 25th dynasty is significant because the 25th dynasty of the 30 dynasties of ancient Kemet or Egypt, the 25th dynasty is referred to as the Negro dynasty, which implies that the other 39 dynasties were not African, which is crazy. But in any event, Cushites from Kemet came in and ruled the nation and restored, in their words, restored the land of their ancestors. So these tombs were rediscovered in 2006. We came on board in 2008. And just to kind of fast forward to where we are right now, we started off restoring 3 tombs. We ended in November. We now have 35 tombs. What is significant about this process is that the main tomb was built in honor of a 25th dynasty priest who lived 2,700 years ago by the name of Karakamen. Karakamen. Ka, spirit, Raket, knows, who was known by Amen as the unseen presence of God Almighty. So this man was responsible for doing the morning libations at the Holy of Holies of the largest temple complex in the world. Karnak Temple is as large as, I think, 60 football fields. It's huge. Could accommodate 33,000 people. And he was the priest responsible for doing the morning libations and evoking the spirit of the unseen presence of God, amen, into this sacred space so that his spirit could literally inspire the 33,000 people who worked in this temple complex. So as we have been restoring this space, we found a very remarkable image of this priest on the wall. And he kind of bears a resemblance to yeah, well, yeah. And what's really interesting, and I could talk about this forever, but give me 2 minutes. So what's interesting is I made my first trip to Egypt in December of 1980. And the very first lecture I gave after I returned from that first trip to Egypt was in this brother's house in January of 1981. And we talked about that trip. On that first trip, I had some interesting experiences. One of those experiences was that I had the opportunity to spend about 45 minutes by myself inside of the Great Pyramid in the dark. And one of the things that I did was to spend some time meditating in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. And I had some wonderful experiences and some visions that didn't mean a lot to me then at that time. But as I reflect on my 40-year journey into Kemet, I now realize that one of the visions that I had was seeing the same colonnaded halls in the temple that we had just recently restored. So my experiences working in this space for the last 14 and a half years is that I've come to understand what they knew, and that is that there is no death. There's only the continuation of life. And when we understand that, then we realize that the life that we're living now is based on the lives that we have lived in the past, and how we conduct these lives in the present moment will determine the lives we will live in the future. So rituals are a significant part of that understanding, and they reinforce who we were, who we are, and who we can become. And when we tether ourselves to these practices, which connect us back to the beginning of time, to all of the ancestors who we carry in our DNA, we have the capacity to shape a world that will benefit all of those who will come from us for thousands of years in the future. That is what is at stake. And that is why each and every one of you should purchase a copy of this book before you leave and read these books. Put the knowledge in this book into daily practice so that you can model for your family, your community, and the young people who are watching you that there is a way that we can save ourselves as America goes to hell. Okay, so Sandy asked me to speak of this symbol here, Sankofa, which is an Akan symbol that reinforces the value of rituals, the ritual of going back and claiming the knowledge of the past in the present moment, applying the principles gained from that process in your life today so that you can create the future that you're going to step into and live the rest of your life. That's power. That's the greatest expression of freedom. Last story I'll share with you is that last September 21st of last year, my daughter and I were installed in Ghana, in the village of Moray. Moray is right near Cape Coast. And as the story was shared with us, the man responsible for establishing Moray established it as the first fishing village in Ghana. Moray at one time was the capital of Ghana before Accra. He established the first fishing village. And this man came to Ghana from Mali. And he said that his ancestors had traveled to Mali from Egypt. So I'm now installed in a village that was founded by a man from Mali whose ancestors came from Egypt. And my name, Sekou Karak, Sekou was the name of a city, the fourth largest city in Mali. So I'm taking all this information in. I go on Wikipedia to find out some information about this city. And there's one photograph online on Wikipedia about Sekou. And in the center of the city, there is a tekken, or an obelisk, the symbol that looks like the Washington Monument, the symbol that represents the resurrection of Messiah. So there's a Kemetic symbol in the city that I am named after. And you all know Sister Brenda Winstead, who does these wonderful clothing. Well, she's in Mali now, and she's been in Ségou for the last 3 days. So she's been sending me photographs of this tekken and getting some research for me, so that I can begin to provide some additional research on this subject matter. And I'll end by saying this: what we've been able to discover was, oh, that's why you asked me about that. All right, full circle. Okay, thank you. So what I was able to discover in 2016, September 2016, visiting 2 Kushite tombs, painted on the ceiling of these 2 tombs was this symbol, the Sankofa symbol. So I've been able to document, and what I have found is that symbol is a Kushite symbol that was brought into Kemet as early as the 19th century BC. So what we're looking at now is documenting the migration of Africans from the upper Nile into the lower Nile. And then we do know, thanks to the work of Van Sertima and Sheikh Diop, that there were 6 migrations out of the Nile River Valley into the Niger River Valley, where Africans brought their cargo of knowledge with them and established systems, spiritual systems, scientific systems, from Mali to Nigeria to Ghana, Senegal, Cameroon. And so we have been able to trace. Matter of fact, this morning I was with Paul Coates at a breakfast book signing featuring Walter Mosley. And I was sitting at the table with Paul's cousin, who is the head of genetics at Howard University. And she told me that they've just completed a project where they have analyzed over 1 million DNA samples, where they've identified the mitochondrial DNA, the part of the DNA that is passed down by the mother. And they have been able to identify that the DNA within Africans Africans in West Africa and African Americans is a heliotype of DNA that contains East Africa, Nile Valley, Niger River Valley DNA, which confirms that all of us carry the DNA of Africans from the Nile to the Niger here in the Potomac. So we're all connected. We have access to all of those ancestors, and we should be calling on them, inviting them into our lives to empower us to do the work that we're here to do. Thank you very much, Sam.
So I'm ready to hand the mic to anybody in the audience who wants to talk or have a question. Anybody? Greetings. Thank you all for sharing and being here this evening to share all your knowledge. Mr. Browder, you came to a El Kebulon Incorporated talk, which really inspired our group, and I thank you for that. But I have a question for you about Sudan and the pyramids there. Has there been any movement on making any connections between Meroe pyramids there and Egyptian pyramids? Anything as far as that is concerned?
Sure. I had the pleasure in 2016 to travel to Sudan with Brother Renoka Rashidi, whose face is on the altar here. And we spent a week there. And actually, our last night in Sudan, we camped in tents under the pyramid fields in Meroe. So I can tell you this, there are almost 500 pyramids in that region. There's only 118 in Kemet. And the only reason there's not more research being done in that area is because it's in an area that is undeniably African. It costs money to do this work, and other people are directing their funding in an area where they can claim is not a part of Africa. So we need to get more of us involved in doing this research. We need to make sure more financial support is available to Africans in Sudan who are ready to do this work. and have knowledge. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have knowledge which will prove the southern Nile Valley origin of everything that is in Kemet. Thank you.
Can I just ask, how could that happen? How could we make that happen?
Well, start by supporting us in the work that we're doing through the Ancestral Restoration Project. And as we move through our next phase, we're looking at setting up processes where we can bring other people over to do the work that we're doing there, and hopefully expand this work up south into Sudan and further up to now Ethiopia. Haile Gerima told me in this bookstore about 15 years ago that while we're spending all of our time going to Egypt, going to the Nile Valley, that this information originated in Ethiopia. And what I found is that the story of Asar and Aset is an Ethiopian story that is at least 10,000 years old. So we need to be traveling more, we need to be doing research and connecting with brothers and sisters there who have the knowledge that can benefit us and save the world. Thank you.
Anybody else? 1 second. I just want to, in honor of eldership, I just feel as if my heart is saying that I just need to ask, Mama, do you have anything you wanted to share?
Acknowledging the elders.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we weren't missing any golden nuggets. Any other questions or comments?
Wabarakatuh, Ohun to say, Assalamu alaikum, and yo. It would be remiss of me, I'm Brother Oduno Tariq. First time I saw Brother Tony Browder, he did a graphic arts for us for the African Heritage Month for August of 1980. If you would go to the Garvey file that's in the Moreland Spingarn Research Center, you will find his signature on it that says Tony B. If you didn't know, you know now. But it would be remiss of me not to call the name of Jewel Rosebud Crawford Mazik, a 1935 graduate from Spelman. One of our teachers, some of us sat at her table. And the reason why I'm mentioning her, because she was one of the initial persons to, one, get a master's degree under Professor Leo Hansberry, even though E. Franklin Frazier and Rayford Logan, Dr. Rayford Logan, signed off because of the politics of Howard University. Can we get an amen? Don't say amen to me, say amen to the truth. Now, then she was, during the World War II, she had a certificate in medical technology. And she continued to work with Professor Leo Hansberry. And she undoubtedly got the initial master's degree in African Studies in 1957. I can talk about the Carterson sisters, I won't do that. And there's some other people that I can talk about. I can talk about Dr. Hull, and there's a number of others. And if you look at my lapel, you will probably find a sister on my lapel that says Nanny Helen Burroughs. And women, stop following these men 180 degrees in the wrong direction. And men, stop going 180 degrees in the wrong direction and misguiding me and our children. We are a good team, but we have to break down the boundaries. Jewel Rosebud Crawford Mazik, her master's in 57 was on Naasaland. They were calling it at that point in time the Southern Rhodesia and Northern Rhodesia. Let me let this mic go, because I'm a Texan.
All right. So, very quiet audience. You are full of information, no questions.
Light, love, peace, and blessings to everybody. I guess in the spirit of sharing about ancestral communication and spiritual technologies that we use, and its importance in our daily lives. The one technology, or the one spiritual technology that I like to use is meditation. I had the opportunity to spend 3 months in the mountains in a cabin meditating, and then I got used to different experiences with that. One is leaving the body, or experiencing visual effects in which I could see outside of my body, however you want to word that. Anyway, leaving the body. But when I went home and I practiced the same technique, I had one experience where kind of like after when you meditate, there's a certain stage in meditation where your body gets to the stillness point and the mind gets to a stillness and a calmness point, and at that point, then you can leave. I did that, and I noticed a lot of ancestors, our spirits, our people. I don't know what they were. I know they were people around me, and I was like, whoa! But they were of every different ethnicity. That's what I noticed. And so what I've come to notice in my own life is honoring all of my ancestors. And so currently, you'll find me, if you speak to me, I'll talk about meditation, I'll talk about engaging in ritual, as well as sweat lodges, like honoring all of my ancestral line. And I've found that through that, like I've had a very blessed life. Maybe not in other ways, but in many ways, I'm grateful for the life that I have and for the relationships that I've cultivated. So honoring your ancestors, utilizing our melanated indigenous spiritual techniques to guide our lives leads to such a beautiful experience.
All right. So, everybody, okay. I just have to stand close.
Greetings, everyone. I am Diara, and I want to give thanks and honor to each of you for sharing, and as well to my ancestors. I wanted to share an experience that I'm not familiar with, and I wanted to see if any of you have any insight. So I was not prepared to speak, so I'm a little nervous. So I had the honor of working with Malidoma Somé around ancestralization. And in the first, so I don't know a lot of my ancestors on either mother or father side because of a lot of interesting dynamics. So when we were asked to choose an ancestor, I didn't know who to choose. So I asked for the first female ancestor to arrive on these shores because I wanted the medicine that she brought with her. So that night in the ritual, when I went to the fire, I was immediately transported into a vision, and I was about 14, and I was there with a woman who I at some point recognized as my mother, and she was doing something on me, and then she started pushing me, and I could feel the energy shift, and I realized in that moment that she was preparing me to be sold. And she kept saying, I thought I was going to have more time. And I realized that she was asking me to forgive her. So there was a whole piece that occurred. When I got home, she started to visit me. Her name is Nanny. And she told me that she's 11 generations back, and we developed this relationship. So what has occurred, and this is the part that I'm not familiar with, is she comes and works on me, but then as I've gotten stronger, I work on her. But then she has taken me to see my life after I was sold. And so I was actually able to see my life, and a guy that I dated in this lifetime was my husband in that lifetime. And so it's this intergenerational thing that happens through lifetimes. I have had me from that lifetime come in visitation for me to initiate her, because that was the work that Nanny couldn't do. And then she then comes and works on me to heal me. So has anybody had any experience where you're working through intergenerational healing and all of that? So she's my ancestor, but then there's this whole thing around me in that lifetime.
Well, I just want to say that it's so interesting that we are in the bookstore, the Sankofa, that is named for the movie Sankofa, that tells the story of a sister in this contemporary time who goes to visit a slave dungeon in Ghana and gets transported through a time portal and is back in that time. In addition to right now, I guess we're lucky it was right here on the shelf that Octavia Butler's book, Kindred, is now basically streaming. And that is also a story of a woman who's having that same kind of experience. And I think the thing that everybody's been talking about at different levels, and this is just one opinion. I'm gonna let the smart people up here talk. Is that the thing that we haven't been taught is that the division between past, present, and future is very fragile. And when we really do exercise our intuition, we can access all of that information. I think that's what everybody is saying. So I think the only thing is that there are things about the macro culture that have framed all of this in a way that's scary and have organized fear around these ideas. But it's nothing to be fearful of. You're gifted because you've seen it and you're experiencing it. And I would say this to you, that you have an opportunity to heal your family.
That's been the work.
Yes. So that's what you're being led to see. And I think that's a blessing. Panel, please.
I just want to say that you're paranormal. You have some psychic abilities. And it's wonderful that you're not fearful of it. And just stay open. I haven't experienced some of the things that you've experienced, but I can see through research and study that it's a very powerful experience. And I would just encourage you to journal, to write some of this stuff down, so that as you get older, you won't forget about it. And you can pass it on to those that come after you. And I just applaud you for being not afraid and to be open and just stay open and experience it and do your work, because you got work to do. You got a lot of power, and I commend you.
I was hoping to be very quiet,
Spirit got you, baby.
but I came here today from the hospital. My mother. Thank you. So what prompted me to want to respond is that I wanted to suggest, first of all, a rural boy, but I wanted to suggest that you take a look at Robert Gilmore's book, Alice in Wonderland. Now, that is a European brother, but it talks about the fact that there is no separation of time. Past, present, and future are actually one. And in quantum physics, we know that there is actually no past, present, and future. And as I was sitting here, because my mom is sick, and she's so much sick that she's really able to communicate, and that I would come here and get this from these people. But I primarily wanted to say, as I was sitting here thinking, I found myself in my village when I was coming to support you, because you were so kind. You were so kind. You are the first person to reach out, and you know what you do. And this woman has always supported my mother. Always, Ivy. And my first teacher, she laid a crystal bowl on my stomach at Columbia, 18th Columbia Road, and woke me up, I guess, over 30 years ago. And so in our tradition, but the most powerful thing we need to remember about our tradition and rituals is kindness. Because she was doing that for free monthly. It's the bone meditation, full moon bone meditation, full moon. I think it's a full moon tonight. Okay? Whatever you did then is what brought me here tonight. So yesterday, I'm in my mother's ICU room. ICU on the floor, each corner, calling down the ancestors, of which I would not have known how without you. Your husband, my son's father was absent. Your husband came for me and my son. First ritual of any day should be self-kindness. And then kindness to our elders. And you stop at your ancestor altar first. Yes. And then we go to Orisha altars first. And it must happen every day because I would not have known how to help my mother without these elders. Okay? And then that altar, that ancestor altar. When I left to go to the hospital, and I'm wrapping up, but when I left to go to the hospital Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, by Thursday, I understood that I needed the oil off the altar that stays there, ready, okay? The Omi Tutu in the morning. And my mother is an assistant pastor at Metropolitan name, thank you. But when I put this on her, she jumped. Okay? And she said, I want my own Ashe. Thank you. Please start your day with thank you, Mojuba, Omitutu. Perfect for somebody who's got to go back to the ICU tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We got you.
Thank you. I know.
So that was a perfect segue. Thank you, Ia, because we don't want to just talk about ritual. I mean, we all have our ritual stories, but we want to have a little moment here where we actually experience some ritual in motion, some ritual in action. And as you just said, Sis Ivy Hilton is not just a contributor to Women of Spirit, Share Rituals Divine. She is a global sound healer who continues to lead and excel in the use of spiritual technologies for healing with her sound vibronic sonic stress reduction meditation system, with her sonic mind streaming emotional wellness listening app. So brothers and sisters, we're lowering the lights. I invite you to relax, to de-stress, to exhale, and receive the sound frequencies of her crystal singing bowls and her voice-guided meditation that she calls Sonic Medicine for the 21st Century. Thank you, our beloved sister Ivy Hilton, for providing us ritual and sound healing in action.
All right, my sister. I heard you. And thank you all so much for coming. And I'm touched right now. Because I'm seeing all of you here. And it's really cold outside. So you had to be called here.
Yes.
You have to be called here for a purpose. And you know, as the ancestors go, it's so interesting because yesterday I've been teaching this, trying to, in my own family. You know, they always say those of us that connect are different. You know, my mother, I had a huge concert once and they asked my mother to speak. And what she said, well, she's always been different. I was thinking, that's not what they meant. And then I got to thinking about it. I said, you know, the light and this sound has been calling me since I was 7. Mm. And I keep doing it. Literally, this is getting ready to be the 40th year. Mm-hmm. And then I look on Facebook and I don't look. People tell me look. And then I go look. And it's like these people playing the bowls and hundreds of thousands of people are watching. I'm thinking, wow, when did that happen? So this is what happens when, and Tony knows what I'm talking about, you get hyper-focused on your soul journey.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know why. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending all my money on this stuff? And then you wonder, what are you doing? And then Tanya stands up and says something that happened 30 years ago is why she's here to tell. And so it makes sense that you just keep doing it. Even though it doesn't make sense to you sometimes. But now we know, because when I first started this, there wasn't a whole lot of research and things done. But now they know. I always knew that the sound frequencies speak the soul language that our ancestors knew about. It is what sustained them. They came up with what they called the Negro spiritual, but it was really sonic medicine because they understood how to create that vibration, how to raise their frequency, and still live through that level of trauma. And here we are. They understood that moaning would relieve the trauma that was in the heart, in the soul, that would leave a space for wellness. And so when I think about this music, and you started talking about ancestors just yesterday, my sister, we've had, family trauma, and mental illness is real. And you got to take care of business. If you've ever tried to do it with someone who is very mentally ill, it's very challenging. My sister said, I finally looked at Daddy on my altar and said, Daddy, go talk to your daughter. And she got an email that my sister was ready to move to the next level. So it's true. They're waiting to hear from us. Only thing is we have to tune into the frequency of God. We have to tune into the frequency of our ancestors. And when you tune into that frequency, you know it. Just like the sister said, she experienced. She tuned into the frequency. And what I stopped using this analogy because now as I'm speaking to younger audiences, they're like, what do you mean? Remember when you used to have to tune the radio? And you had to turn it to the left and to the right and then get it right until you got it right. And then the radio would come on and say, y'all don't know about that. That is so funny, Mama Jeanette. Who knew I would live long enough to be able for somebody to look at me and say, what is that? We still have a car. We still have my father's truck that you have to roll the window down. And the grandchild got into the car and she said, what is that? I was like, whoa, this is really deep. So the crystal healing that I understand now, and I mean, I have elevated to this is Mother Pearl, this is Ruby, and this is pure copper. So what is happening tonight is if you tune into these frequencies and connect with your ancestors, the ritual of the body temple. As I begin to play, and now I think I'm going to add some music from a new EP, that's Frequency of Love, that you can get on Bandcamp.com. And so I selected that tonight because of how the conversation moved. And when I was in the studio with these crystals and these young musicians and engineers, they'd never seen anything like this. And so when we started playing them, a country radio station came in. And I was like, why is he playing a country radio station when I'm in here trying to do meditation music? And I saw him in there going like this. He had no idea where it was coming from. So we tuned into a frequency that brought sound into the studio. And that's when they got it. They said, okay, I got you. I understand this now. This is not feedback. This is pure resonance of life. And when we are playing this, I just want you to I'm not going to say too much because I think I'm going to play what the ancestors came to me. And I thought I was getting ready to do something else. And this is what came through. So I'm going to invite you to sit back and relax. If you have anything on your lap, please remove it. Keeping your feet flat on the ground. And you can place your hands on your lap, palms facing downward for grounding, and palms facing upward for receiving. So wherever you are, in your life's journey, you would choose up or down, or you can hold your hands, whatever is comfortable for you. The science behind sound vibronics is this, and it's very simple. Sound frequency integrated with intentional thought forms equals instant manifest. So that's it. That is why we call it the new medicine for the 21st century. Because if we can learn how to retrain our brains to elevate our frequency in the body, we will feel wellness, we will feel wholeness, we will feel that connection. And it's so creative, and I can't even begin to explain it. It is just what it is. It is tapping into our superpower of the mind. You can put it right there just in case you might get it. Thank you. So just take a deep breath. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Filling your lungs with air. Breathe in. And bring your awareness to the center of your forehead. The place where we create, where we remember, where we see the divine. Allow your shoulders to droop down, 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 into relaxation. Down, 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 into surrender. There is no place to go, nothing to do, but be right here, right now. Allow an image of white light to appear and connect with the highest point in the universe. Obi in Chile, Obi from Aname, Sankofa Gineas, Asani Santi, Ima. The source of wisdom is understanding. Love lights its own path. It never gets lost on its way home.
Look around your heart and embrace it with love. Ondura nera nete kwa Asante hina sumasu Abinas and kofats Je ne suis piacere Obifrana me Sankofa Shene Asu Asante Ima Breathe. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. The heart is the seat of love, touch, compassion, understanding, and peace of mind. The heart chakra is located at the center of the chest, directly at the heart level. I now invite you to bring your awareness to your breath. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. All stress, all tension, all anxiety and fear are gone. Bring your awareness to the air, the coolness of the air as it flows through your nostrils and very gently out through your mouth. Deep breath in. letting go, letting go, going deeper and deeper into relaxation, deeper and deeper into surrender. Let it go. And now bring your awareness to the center of your forehead, right between your two eyebrows. And gently close your eyes. Breathe. Deeply now. Right in the center of your mind, allow an image to appear of bright white light. Breathe. Allow your body to go even deeper into relaxation. Letting go of your shoulders, your arms, the muscles in your neck, your chest. Releasing all hold in your abdomen. Down even deeper into your hips, onto your thighs, allowing that relaxation to flow into your knees, down into your calves, and over your ankles into your feet, and allow that energy to flow through each and every toe, filled with light. And now, gently become aware of the room in your mind's eye, wiggling your fingers and your toes. Take a deep breath in through the nose, filling your lungs with air, and exhale. Allow your shoulders to droop even down deeper into relaxation, and tune into the power of the still point of silence. Gently wet your lips. And stretching your neck to the left, to the right. And to the center. Rotate your head around to the left. Inhale up. Exhale down. To the center. In reverse. Rotate your head to the right. Inhale up. Exhale down to the center. And gently bring your head up, right? And when you are ready, gently blinking your eyes 2 or 3 times before you open them. And welcome back. Ashe.
Words kind of seem inappropriate at this time. But Mama Ivy, can you tell us where and how we can access your music?
Well, some wonderful soul has put it all on YouTube. The new project that I have, Frequency of Love, can be found on, it's Ivy Shadia, SHADIAH.bandcamp.com. And you can find it on Bandcamp. And you can go to my website. I have the app is free right now. Only if you send me messages of how it worked for you. You can go to drivysoundspa.com and click through it until you find it.
So you said Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, BANDCAMP. And you can search Frequency of Love, Ivy Shadia.
Anybody want to share what their experience was?
Yeah, that would be great. Although it does render you speechless. Hello.
Hi. I just want to say thank you. I really needed that. I came into knowledge of you during the pandemic, and
the Sound Spa
Thursday night, and I couldn't wait until I work in a very stressful occupation, and I was just saying today how I needed to get back into the self-care. So I greatly thank you. I can feel the pressure release. Yes. Thank you.
So at this time, my dear colleagues, including Ivy and where's Olafina? Oh, Olafina, Beina, and myself are very, very grateful to all of you for being here and sharing healing space with us.
Not on camera.
Okay, well, and we'd like to thank Urwa Hemetu and Penny for being here with us. And we want to thank all of you because all of you brought your ancestors, brought your spirit, brought your healing energy into the space. And of course, we are very grateful to Sankofa, to Jonathan, to Malika, and to everyone who continues to support this as a safe and healing space for us. we want to invite everyone who either pre-purchased a book or has purchased a book since you've been here, or you're about to purchase a book, to please join us on the stage. And the four of us who are contributors, or any one of us that you wish, can write a personal message to you. And I don't want to say goodnight. I can say to be continued. Also, just want to say that this edition of Women of Spirit Share Rituals Divine is actually a second edition. We printed a first edition, but it didn't have a table of contents. There were some things in it that needed to be changed. So we have a whole bunch of first edition books that we are not selling in the same way we're selling the second edition books. But we are inviting any members of the community who have organizations that are focused on women and girls. The 40 essays are intact in the first edition. It's just that everything around it has changed. But we are open to selling those first edition books at a serious discount, and or even donating them to an organization that is really focusing on healing in women and girls. So please follow up with us if that's something you're involved in. And if you are not prepared to buy a book at this time, we ask you to check out ritualsdivine.com, our website. And you can find more information there. And as we mentioned, we're always giving it up to Shatir Monroe, Alolo D, the originator of this project. She had the vision, she made it happen. So like when she calls you, like she called us and said, oh, I had a vision that you all were supposed to start an organization with me called Sacred Space. I mean, what do? Say no? And then when she says, oh no, Spirit told me I needed to write a book and you needed to be in it. I mean, yeah, okay, let's go. So we are very happy, very pleased, very proud, again, that she had that vision. She stepped forward. I mean, she wasn't an author. She first tried to fight it, but I guess they kept coming to her dreams saying, you better write this book. So let us all be that courageous. Let us all step into the vision and the promise and the possibilities of our lives. Let us kick fear to the curb and do what we are brought here to do. We all have assignments. We all have a contract. We may not know the terms, but we know the broad outline. So let us do our work, and we hope that this book and all of the different voices and messages in it will help to inspire and strengthen you in whatever way can help you to realize your greatest good and your greatest possible destiny. Thanks for being with us tonight. We're going to be here, as I said, on the stage, available to sign books for anyone who would like to have that personal message from these brilliant sistren. Thank you very much, everybody.